guys, and welcome to Behind the Yellow Door, two friends. I have a treat for you today, so come on in and let's see what's happening. Y'all, I am so excited to be here today with my sweet friend Gretchen Pettis. Gretchen is from Monroe, Louisiana. But before I tell you anything else about her, I'm going to pour us a glass of wine because I think our conversation is going to need just a little sip here. And I think y'all will enjoy this. But let me tell you about this wine. This is a French Bordeaux made with Semillon grapes and Sauvignon Blanc grapes. So Gretchen, let's take a sip.
Cheers to tea.
And see what it tastes like.
Nice for a Friday afternoon. I love
So
it.
nice for a Friday afternoon. All right, so we've got our glasses. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to a Friday afternoon. So Gretchen has been with us on 2 different occasions the month of June. So here's the cool thing. Gretchen came to St. Simon's in February.
In February, my first visit.
Was her first visit to the island. She fell in love with our little neck of the woods down here and decided that she would rent a place for the month of June. But tell them what you're doing. Tell them what you're doing.
Well, I came on vacation, but I've fallen in love with it, so now I just keep exploring and every day do something different.
All right, but wait a minute. You said this was you launched your...
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes. So I have a really pretty ring and I wear it all the time, and so everybody asks, oh my gosh, your ring is pretty. And so I said, oh, that is my push present, because I've launched my children, and all, like Sally and all of our little young friends, they all get push presents when they have these babies.
Yes,
and I decided that I know we missed out years ago. So I decided, I bought myself a ring and said, that's my push present. So I'm on the process of launching these little angels.
She is pushing them out
Well,
of the nest.
Well, it's just time for that. As you know, you wanted to come back,
That's
but
right.
it's sometimes time.
Right.
So anyway, we've laughed a lot about that.
Yes, when she said that, y'all, for the first time, she said that was her push present. And I was like when you had children? She goes, no, it's just recent.
When they went to college, so they left. I was sad for about a week, and the next thing you know, I was like, I need a happy.
Y'all, so here's what is also so fun about Gretchen is not only does she love this beautiful antique jewelry that we all love, and she, of course, she stacks hers and wears hers, and I love stacking mine and wearing mine, and now Catherine's gotten on to the bandwagon, and Martha has, and then we had so many wonderful customers coming in and buying some fun things. But what I think really makes Gretchen's business so cool is not only has she curated a beautiful collection of jewelry, but every piece she helps you find the story for that piece. And I'll give you an example. I bought a beautiful locket and it had an M and an A etched on the front. Of course, M is my name, Marty is for Marty, but A is not my initial. And so I loved it so much, and I wanted a locket to put Charlie's picture in. So she goes, Marty, that's for my angel. And I was like, oh, that is for my angel. So my little baby Charlie angel, my angel, is going into my MA locket. How cool is that?
It becomes part of your story when you do that. And that's what I love, is telling your story.
Right.
Because the name of my business, as you know, Marty, is Interlude Antiques. And so all of these pieces have had a life, they've had a past, and the word interlude in music is resting. And it's a period of rest before the next verse continues. And that's kind of what I think of the story, is it's resting with me, and then it goes off to become part of your story. And that becomes part of little Charlie's, and someday when Sally gets that, it becomes part of your family story. And I love that. It's the stories that weave us together. whether it's jewelry or clothes or heirlooms from your family. We were just talking about antique furniture. Those are the things that connect us, and it connects us, but then it connects us to our children. You know, and even with my boys, one day they'll know that this is where this came from.
Right.
And so it makes it unique, and it makes us ours.
Y'all, is that not, I get chill bumps when I hear this, and I didn't realize that was why you named your business what you named your business. But when she said in music, so she's also a piano teacher.
I was for a long time, and I'm almost 60. I played the piano since I was 5. And so when I went to name this business 5 years ago, I wanted something that captured all the chapters of my life, and that name did it for me. And so whether it was, at that point I also taught manners camp, and I think I told you about that, to children in my community. But then as I've transitioned to this, or one of my favorite writers and speakers calls it pivots. And I love that idea. And I listen to a lot of the podcasts of one of my friends, Laura Cox Kaplan, and I love to hear what she says about we pivot. And whether it's our clothing, or whether it's things that Marti has in here, whether it's our jewelry, that's what it's all about, is learning to be graceful while we pivot.
Well, you know, I have talked about pivoting before in my world. My dad has always, he's just instinctively known when to pivot in his business or in his life. And he has shared that knowledge with me, and just being aware of what's going on in our lives and knowing when it's time to pivot. So I think that's a really important.
I just think the Lord kind of teaches us that, because we see it in nature. You know, we were walking in Marti's garden last night. We were talking about our shared love of gardening and plants. And we see how that happens in the world around us. But to be able to take those principles and actually internalize them like your dad's taught you to do, and to be sensitive enough to pick up on that whether it's moving to a new community, whether it's letting your children go, whether it's moving, you know, just things around in your life, decorating your house, whatever it is, just to be sensitive to that. And I think we all, maybe coming out of the COVID, I think a lot of people were even more aware of how fragile things are. And we became more in tune with our need to be flexible and also be graceful while you're doing it.
Being graceful while we're doing it. That's a good one. Sometimes I feel like I am just stumbling and fumbling over my feet trying to make a pivot, and you know, and I think when I feel myself stumbling and bumbling along, I'm not in tune to God, and His Word is not leading me. I think that's myself getting all tripped up over my stupidity of not just trusting Him.
Well, so I think I like to say sometimes that most of the good things in my life have come not because of anything I've done. It's in spite of what I've done.
Right.
And I like to think that, you know, the Lord has a plan, in my faith, for all of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do a lot better job adhering to that. And like you said, I'm not tuned in, but also He says, your word I've hid in my heart.
Right.
And you know, one of the things that made me who I am, and I know with you, is growing up in a church and in a family that had faith. And I hope my children get that at this point. And as I watch them launch, ring or not, I watch them launch into their life, I see God's grace in His hand over and over, and His goodness.
Yeah.
In spite of what I think I'm in control.
Right.
I'm not. I'm just a little player just trying to do the best I can every day.
Yeah. That is so cool. That is so cool. Y'all, if you had been here and you had a moment to just talk to Gretchen, you would see God's grace through her in the way she handles her customers and shares with her customers. And it has just been such a blessing, not only to be able to just have her beautiful jewelry here, but to have Gretchen and her sweet spirit in the store and pouring into everybody that came in to buy a piece of jewelry. And I thank you for being here.
I'm just honored. And you know, it's really funny how Marti and I, and most of you don't know this, we came to be through a shared friend in Arkansas, Jamie Darling. And Jamie and I, our paths crossed last September after the boys left, and I was kind of trying to figure out what's the next chapter for me. And I did a show in beautiful Newport, Arkansas. With
Newport, Arkansas.
And it's,
y'all, she's from Louisiana. She went up to Arkansas. And now she's all the way over here in coastal Georgia.
And it's just neat. And so because of that connection, And I love that. I love how, and I think about this a lot too. I think, you know how quilty is. In the old timey days that women would sew quilts and scraps of their life. And I think when you stand back, many years ago, I read a book called The Tapestry. And it talks about how, you know, in a tapestry, those threads that weave, and you don't always see them when you're up close,
right.
But when you pull back and you see this beautiful kaleidoscope of grace and beauty, and whether it's through Jamie or meeting Marty, right. And then now the girls in here, and when I walked in the door, the very first time Catherine and I just bonded, her manager, because we both had children at Swanee, and it's just, I love that. I just love how we're connected.
Yep.
And it's been really just very special for me.
And then while Gretchen has been in Georgia for the month, she went up to Marshallville, Georgia, and did a trunk show in Marshallville with my sweet friends up there, which Marshallville is just outside of Perry, Georgia, which is where we're from. And so she got to meet Deborah Miley, who was my manager in Perry.
So neat.
And Deborah has a little business inside of the antique place there.
In Alberta Market.
And it's just so fun seeing how God does create our tapestries and weaves beautiful pieces of gold through our lives. And I'm always in awe of how he does that.
And I think if we just, you know, we talk about everybody loves the verse, be still and know I'm God. And the hardest thing, I think, is to be still. When you're a visual person, you're creative, your mind goes 90 miles an hour, and that ability to truly be still and listen and just calm yourself down. I can just hear my mother's voice saying, just settle down. You know, and I hear that over and over, just settle down.
Settle down, or as Andy Griffith likes to say, simmer.
Simmer. I love Andy. Yeah, oh Lord. I mean, some days when the world's crazy,
you just gotta have
to listen to Andy, and then you listen to Barney. I'm like, and I'm headed to North Carolina next month, and I'm like, you know, Lord, it's good people.
Yeah.
I'm so proud to be from the South, and as I go through this chapter and learn and do my business, and I just journey, and I meet so many amazing, strong Southern women, I'm just over and over just reminded the power that we have as women of faith, women that were raised in the South, that have values with our children and our work ethic. And I just think that is what the world needs more of.
Yeah.
And we have an opportunity to share it.
I agree. So one of the things, going back to Gretchen's beautiful jewelry, one of the things that everybody has asked is, where do you get all this beautiful stuff? And tell them what you told me.
Well, I told her, I said, well, I go up north. Now, if y'all live up north, don't be offended. But I said, yeah, we don't get rid of our people's stuff here. I do estate sales sometimes for friends at home, and if there's your grandmother's Tupperware, you'll just go to bat over it. Because if your mama owned it, we're not getting rid of it. It doesn't matter if it's a dill pickle fork. And we just hold on to it. And this jewelry is much the same. If it has your grandmother's toothprint, anything on it, I mean, whether it's Tupperware or a gold bracelet or her hair, a little bit of her hair, whatever it is, we're going to hold on to that because we hold dear those things.
Yeah.
So I travel all over, and I love that. But it's fun bringing them home, and I love, that.
Making
any of the bracelets with the names, with the old hand engraving. And I keep a little running list of Edna, Lois, Myrtle, Mildred, and
Bessie.
all these names. I have Bessie right now. Esther, and I love Esther and Ruth, and just those names that mean something to us outside of whether it was your people,
right,
or it is a person like Esther or Ruth that are strong women of faith. I love that. And every Easter, I don't know if you've even looked back at that, but every Easter during Holy Week, I'll take a cross and I'll tell the story of what's going on through Holy Week through an antique cross. And then last year I started doing it with Advent and taking a piece, and I used a bracelet that had a woman's name on it, and I found ways to tie that in to each week of Advent. And whether it's for somebody else, or maybe sometimes I think the message is for me, what I learned, because what we teach we master is what I've always been taught. I worked in corporate many years ago in Pfizer in New York, and that was one of our sayings, what I teach I master. And I think we do that through our lives. We teach over and over. We teach our children. We teach our friends. And all through doing that, we teach ourselves over and over. And we're reminded.
Yeah, we are reminded. So y'all, I knew you would love her. We have just fallen in love with Gretchen. But so she has told all of these stories kind of around the table back there with the jewelry. And one of the stories about this particular type of bracelet, I fell in love with. So now, yes. So now take that off. I want you to take that off. Let's put our, here, I'll hold your,
okay,
I'll hold your glass. I want y'all to look at this bracelet. So, okay, so this is what I would do, because somebody would be back at the table and I'd be like, Gretchen, tell them the story about these types of bracelets.
So these bracelets, and it was interesting because I was here on D-Day, and they're called sweetheart bracelets. They're circa World War I, World War II, and they're little stretchy bracelets. They remind me of my mama, but they were given to the girls as the soldiers would go off to war. In World War I,
it's kind of their promise.
It's kind of like a promise ring that we would say now.
Right.
And many times they have hearts or names or initials. And they are so popular, and they're fun to wear, mixed in, layered with your stack.
Y'all.
And timely.
I got Sally one of those for her birthday, and she absolutely loved it.
So glad. And they're easy. So if you've had too much wine, I call them the wine drinking bracelets, because you just slide them on,
Yeah, and they're stretchy, but there's not elastic. So the hardware and the way they're created is so cool. And I guess one of the reasons that they're still around today is because it's not easily breakable.
That's right.
Which is,
I love that. I love the stories and the fact that, I mean, you know, and I have people sometimes are like, oh my gosh, it broke. And I'm like, no, it's made it 100 years, and then it gets to you.
Right.
So you have to be careful a little,
right.
But at the same time, that's the way if you use your good Waterford, you want to be careful, or whatever you have.
So most of the pieces that Gretchen has, you know, they're all over 100 years old. And I know, Gretchen, people are curious. They're gold filled, but tell them what that really means from 100 years ago.
So gold filled, you know, we often think 14 karat, and there are amazing pieces that are 14 karat, but old gold filled is really a little hidden treasure. It's not gold plated. It's made to be worn. It's early 1900s to about the 20s, 30s, into the 50s. That was 12 karat and it was marked. But this was jewelry that was made to wear. It's not as soft. It doesn't carry a price point like a real expensive, you know. Most women, as you know, anybody goes to Target, you know that you will run out and spend $200 or $300 on yourself or on stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last. And what's beautiful about this, the old gold fill is made to endure. If you clean it, you know, people ask me all the time, how do you clean this stuff? I just drop it in regular old ammonia and it will clean. And there's some nice polishes that you can get if you need to do a little deeper cleaning. But it's really made to be worn. Okay. It doesn't dent as easily.
Well, and it doesn't.
And the luster is beautiful.
The color doesn't wear off.
That's
y'all.
right.
I mean, look, Gretchen's got a whole armful, and they're absolutely beautiful.
And I wear these every day.
And then my old piece that my husband gave me, it's a vintage piece. You know, it's an old piece as well that just doesn't wear off.
And that's what's fun about going to estate sales. When I was in Marshallville, you know, your friend Deborah had all these great old vintage purses.
Oh yeah.
And I bought 9 of them. 9.
You bought 9?
She said, you're buying me out. Yes, but they're these little adorable clutch bags.
Yeah.
They're from the 50s. Yeah. They look fabulous mixed in with all these things that we wear now. Marty has Rick Rack on her skirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 1950s. It's like all these things that have a throwback.
Right.
You know, caftans is a perfect example of that. There was a life that those were popular. I mean, gosh, all you had to do was watch, what is it, Green Acres, you know? And I mean, you know, you watch, you know, go look at the island, and we all want a caftan now.
And, and Palm Royale.
Oh, Palm Royale, yes.
Oh my gosh, have you watched that?
Yes.
Oh my God,
it's amazing. And then, you know, any of us in the South, we love pink and green and the big or the bad.
I mean, Lord have mercy, we could talk for days, Gretchen.
2 peas in a pod, we are.
2 peas in a pod. And y'all, Sonny has just hopped up here in my lap, taking a little nap. And you'll be headed back to Louisiana. When are you headed back?
On the 30th.
On the 30th, the party is over in St. Simon's for Gretchen. But I have a feeling she'll be back. Now, I do have to ask one question. When she came over east from Louisiana, she came, what did you call that?
I called it the Chick-fil-A tour.
She came via the Chick-fil-A tour, and we were all like, Gretchen, what does that mean? Tell them what
Well,
you did.
I only travel.
Chick-fil-A really
okay.
needs
They
to know
need to
this
know this.
story because she could be on a commercial.
Well, I can't travel on a Sunday. Let's just start with that. So what I did is I got the old-timey atlas. My children wouldn't know what that is probably. And I looked, I was like, well, heck, it's just a straight line, really. So I knew where the Chick-fil-A was in Meridian. So I went from Monroe to Meridian to the Chick-fil-A. And then I put in Montgomery, Alabama Chick-fil-A. Then I put in Selma, Alabama Chick-fil-A. Then I put in the GPS, Tipton, Georgia Chick-fil-A. And then I put in St. Simon's. So thanks to Chick-fil-A, because I knew that they would be nice, they'd be friendly, the bathrooms would be clean.
And
The
you
people,
felt safe.
and I felt safe because there were all these little families headed to the beach.
That's right.
So I just traveled the Chick-fil-A tour from Monroe, Louisiana
We're
to
going to
St.
call it
Simon's.
the Chick-fil-A Trail.
That's
all
it.
the way back to Meridian.
That's right.
Monroe,
to Monroe, to Fun Road.
Louisiana.
That's right.
Fun Road.
Fun Road is what we call it.
Oh my gosh, Fun Road. So I did ask her, I was like, oh my gosh, the Dynasty folks are from West Monroe.
They are.
And so she said she's just kind of grown up knowing who they were and what
Yes.
have you. And
Monroe is very famous. It's also, as I told her, the birthplace of Delta Airlines. And
wait. But do y'all know why it's called Delta Airlines?
because we live in the Delta.
They live in the Delta, and Delta was founded in Monroe,
in the
Louisiana.
Delta. And then we also, they were the people at first figured out how to bottle Coca-Cola.
The
So
same.
some of the same investors, Mr. Biedenhorn. So it's very much a
Really?
part. Monroe's been famous long before any of us before I showed up. And we just have had our mark on the world.
Yeah.
And we laugh about that and talk about, those places that you're from, how important they are.
Yeah.
And how important it is for us and our children to know their history. I taught manners camps, and we talked about this. I taught a little camp several years ago, and it was called There's No Place Like Home. And the tagline I used for it, you have to know where you're from to know where you're going. And-
Y'all, I love that.
And there were I put my third grade girls that I taught at the Episcopal School in the car. We went all over Monroe, and I took them to all these places that were part of our community that you needed to know about, that they needed to go. So we have this beautiful
And they
castle.
need to know the history.
They need to know the history. They need to know about
Yeah.
Layton's Castle. They need to know about the river. We went down to the old city cemetery where the founders of our city lived. And so it was really neat for them, but it was wonderful for me. Again, what I teach our master, I learned more than I ever taught. And
Oh,
it
I
was
love
really
that.
neat. So
I love that.
anyway,
Cheers.
to a good time and good friends.
Oh, y'all. This girl is just full of great stories and wisdom, and she's full of God's love, and it just shows through everything she does. And I just say cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you.
May we meet again.
Amen, sister.